YouTube, what a YouTube down home news TV. I am your man Dre. We got an article coming from Fox News. States California close to approving $150,000 loan for illegal immigrants to help purchase homes. Must be nice. Must be nice. Must be nice. Lawmakers in California could soon make the Golden State the first in the country to make undocumented immigrants eligible for up to $150,000 in a state-supported home loans. The Democratic supermajority in California state legislature is likely to pass a measure this week that would make undocumented immigrants eligible for the California Dream for All loan program, a state-funded program that provides 20% in down payment assistance up to $150,000, according to a report from Politico. Participants in the program must be first-time homebuyers, and at least one must be a first-generation homebuyer, while income levels must be below certain limits depending on the country where the recipient lives. The measure comes amid the backdrop of a national election in which immigration has taken center stage. The report notes with Trump campaign attempting to tie Vice President Kamala Harris to the Biden administration border policies that have proven unpopular with voters. I mean, I honestly believe you're going to get the same thing with Kamala. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it just seems that way. And some people, even CNN, made some good comments about the statement they're never going to go back, the Democratic slogan, not going back, referring to the Trump campaign or his 4 years in office. But CNN, it surprised me. I try to stay unbiased on these issues, but you got to give credit when credit's due. But CNN stated, I forgot the news reporter, it just popped up in my head, but I had to go back and look for it. But anyway, back to the story. The person on CNN stated that, well, prior to Obama, you had Bush, obviously. I didn't really pay attention to politics then, but first time I was able to vote was for Obama. I voted for Obama. But you had 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Trump, then 4 years of the Biden administration. So, and I want to say, I'm going off memory, but the commentator was basically stating that how have the people lives, Americans' lives, improved when y'all had basically 12 of the last 16 years being ran by Democrats, and that would be a hard slump to get over if Trump were to mention that on his campaign trail. But I never really thought about that. I was like, golly, you're right, man. That's a good statement or a good question to ask. But anyway, back to the article. Where was I at? California Governor Gavin Newsom, who has been one of President Biden's and now Harris' top surrogates on the campaign trail, has not said whether he will sign the bill into law if it clears the legislature before August 31st deadline. Newscom office did not immediately respond to a Fox News digital request for comment. Meanwhile, Trump campaign spokesperson Caroline Leavitt told Politico the bill is fundamentally unfair but typical of Democrat policy. And I believe there's a video to go along with it from Mr. Gavin Newsom himself. Oh man, it's been jacked up all day, man. Come on. Let me play it. Sorry for a hold up. Life's not perfect. We'll always have technical difficulties. No matter how advanced technology becomes,
California.
check it out. And starting with a commercial. All
weed through everything that I don't need and get to what.
The Democratic Governor, Gavin Newsom.
It's good to be with you. That's a hell of a few weeks.
It's an evolution. You were one of the last high-profile defenders.
Yeah.
You stuck in there.
That's how I was raised. You don't turn your back on someone who's had our back, and you go home, as my dad used to say, with the one who brought you to the dance. So I believe in the character, decency of Joe Biden and his administration, so I was proud to do that.
You know, you're one of the up-and-coming stars. You're already a star in the Democratic Party. Why are you not speaking at this convention?
I spoke on the floor. It's what I was asked to do, and I'm doing everything I'm being asked to do, and you'll see me plenty out on the campaign trail for both the president and with the vice president himself.
There's a lot of feeling of enthusiasm coming, every night. It's, the people in this hall are fired up. But taking this to the campaign trail, if you look at the latest polls, the direction of the country, right direction 25.3%, wrong track 64.8%. Why? Why is it on the wrong
Man, we've been polarized and traumatized. The last 3.5 years have been difficult. The last 5, 6, 7 years.
That's the Biden-Harris administration.
I mean, the Trump administration, COVID. I mean, the challenges
against an incumbent that is a Biden-Harris.
We had 14.8% unemployment in April of 2020. We lost 154,000 manufacturing jobs during the Trump years. We're just coming out of this recession. We're finally taming inflation. We're finally.
You hear what you're saying. You're erasing the last 3.5 years.
No, I'm saying I think it's more directional. I think it's been a challenging time for this country for many, many years, even before Biden and Harris were elected.
And they couldn't get it done to change the tide.
My God, I mean, we're the envy of the world. Don't take my word for it, Wall Street Journal, in terms of economic growth.
But we're not the envy of the domestic wrong track.
You know, it kind of, what does Peter Griffin say, grind my gears when you always hear people throw out, well, the former president had a horrible response to the COVID situation and the whole world being shut down. I mean, that wasn't his fault. And depending on where you lived, I know a lot of blue states, they were going along with Anthony Fauci as far as wanting to shut down certain industries. I'm not sure if they shut down everything in their states, but I know where I live, we're still working, and that's when they included the strategy to work from home if you're able to, depending on your job. But for the most part, Mississippi stayed open, and I want to say kids were out of school for a little bit, but they eventually went back much quicker than from what I've seen in more blue states or independent states. But I believe under the President Trump, it was more of a states' right thing. If you want to open up, open up. Just have the preventative measures in place. But yeah, let's get back into it.
Right track.
I know. Same time, we're seeing record number of jobs, 11 times more jobs created by the Biden-Harris administration, even with the adjustment to 818,000 jobs.
Which is a little weird, don't you think?
That means 14.9 million jobs since they got into office. That is, Brett, 11 times more than the last 3 Republican administrations combined. The lowest black unemployment is.
Is that including, like I mentioned before, the businesses that shut down and reopened, or finally was able to reopen? Is it Mr. Newsom? Because I heard from what they would call alternative media in the state of California, his restaurants were open while others were shut down. Pretty similar to how Nancy Pelosi was caught getting her hair groomed during the pandemic. And I forgot her excuse, but I believe the lady that actually did her hair, opened up her business to do her hair, was eventually fired.
Hispanic unemployment, the lowest unemployment for women in our lifetime, an American manufacturing policy, an industrial policy that's worker-centered, that's advantaging red and rural districts of this country more than it is even blue.
And I appreciate
centers.
all those stats, but what I'm saying is that when I listen to these speeches, it sounds like you're running against an incumbent Donald Trump. But it's not the incumbent Donald Trump. It is Biden-Harris in the White House.
Yeah, but right now you feel the fresh air of progress. You just do. You can't deny that. And there's a stale air of normalcy, a stale air of the past represented in Donald Trump. And I mean this sincerely. I know this tough audience that's going to take it from me. He's derivative of himself. He's less interesting.
Another commercial.
I'm less interested. He's not as entertaining. He seems way off his game. For some time now, ever since that his convention speech, something just seems off. And,
okay, but for the people that say he gets it done, and it's not hope and change and touchy-feely stuff, it is substance and policy, what do you say to them? There's some people that think there should be more meat on the bone on this policy. If you go to the Harris website, there is no policy listed on the website.
Well, I'm happy to compare and contrast policies coming from the Trump campaign that have the form and substance of fog. This is a convention. This is about why and what. Karl Rove said it best today in an op-ed he wrote. Says there's plenty of time for policy details. It's the Biden-Harris administration as it relates to the IRA and the CHIPS and Science Act, as it relates to policies to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, all extraordinarily popular programs with the American people. We have seeded tremendous amount of economic opportunity across this country, and she has the opportunity tonight to turn the page on the past, to your point, legitimate point, and talk about a compelling future where everyone feels included.
What about her past? When she ran in 2019 for president, she had a lot of policies, specific policy ideas that now we only have paper statements that they are saying that's completely different. Banning fracking, where she is on Medicare for all, immigration, all of these things are a 180. Is she going to explain that to us tonight?
Well, she's been part of the Biden-Harris administration. She's been in office
exactly for the last
three and a half years. So she has a record of accomplishments that I'll put up. I mean, come on, compare the accomplishments of this administration on infrastructure to the 4 years of the Trump administration.
But Governor, who is
compare
she?
And contrast.
If you were running for president, wouldn't you say what you were for specifically? And if it differed dramatically from where you were just a few years ago, you would explain to people why you changed.
And she's been our nominee for how many minutes?
30 days.
Okay.
I mean, how about an interview? One interview.
I also heard that Gavin Newsom is related to Nancy Pelosi, and that's how he possibly got his start in politics. I don't know. It just made me think of it while I was listening to him back and forth, but
getting through the convention. How about having the former roll call event with the 482 votes that we put her over the top from the state of California? How about a little grace under the circumstances of this remarkable moment in U.S. history? And let's have a real conversation. You want an economic policy to compare and contrast? We know what Trump's is. A 10% tax on the American people on $3.1 trillion of goods, a 60% tax.
Okay, you're talking about tariffs. He hasn't laid down an all across the board tariff. He hasn't done that yet, and that's not true. Here we go. Kamala Harris from California. I want to go down that road because you know her. She backed the Freedom Fund that put murderers, rapists back on the street, still up and running. Harris promoted the bail fund in June 2020 that helped Black Lives Matter rioters out of jail, but only a fraction of the more than 41 million actually went to freeing rioters. That's from Minneapolis. Then she also did Prop 507 in California, which is coming under a lot of criticism.
Which is 507? I know a lot of propositions. I've never heard of 507.
The writing of how the prosecution for small crimes.
Oh, Prop 47.
47, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is, by the way, the 10th toughest threshold in the United States of America, meaning you can steal up to $950 of goods and it will be charged as a misdemeanor. You can steal $2,500 in the state of Texas. Why you're not focusing on those other 40 states is beyond me. 10th toughest felony threshold in the United States of America.
That's a fact. That she was a tough prosecutor in California.
That's a good point he brought up. And I gotta, well, whatever side of the fence you lean on, you gotta give him credit for actually coming on Fox News and answering these questions. I wish more politicians would come on different segments and defend themselves and their party members. So I give you much respect on that, Mr. Newsom.
Is going to
You
stay.
remember her primary for president? She was attacked from the left for being too tough, for being prosecutor, for having a prosecutorial mindset. So look, I mean, all these things, this is all fair game. But at the end of the day, she's got a record of accomplishments as being part of the Biden-Harris administration. We've seen inflation tamed down to 2.9%. No one's denying the inflation scars. No one's denying what's happened around the world, with a few exceptions around the globe, as it relates to the impacts of COVID in supply chains, a war in Ukraine, and the impacts that's had on the global economy. But no country has done better, and no investments have been made comparable anywhere in the world as profound and meaningful as the industrial policies.
To all my macro and microeconomic majors out there, if you happen to listen to me or know a lot more about economics than I do, could you please help me understand why I've heard through several, well, not several, but two different administrations when our economy, since they was talking about inflation, that the economy was overheating, so at times the FR would increase inflation to help cool the economy from growing too fast. I never understood why you would not want your economy to grow at an accelerated pace. It's like planting a flower, but depriving it of the resources that it needs to fully develop into whatever plant you're growing to stun its growth. If anybody out there that's listening that has more information about that, please let me know because that really boggles the mind. It really does. I don't know.
That have been seeded by the Biden-Harris administration.
This theme of this convention, a lot of it is about freedom. You have criticism of Governor Tim Walz and how he handled COVID-19. Obviously, you took criticism about how you handled COVID-19, that there was a real crackdown on people's businesses and how they dealt with things.
Yep.
How do you say that that was freedom?
Well, I mean, in health, wealth, and education, states like California outperform states like Florida. They lay claim to be freedom states, even though they're banning books, banning speech in the boardroom, in the classroom, banning women's rights, the right to choose. I mean, you want to compare or contrast, pretty easy. We believe in bodily autonomy. We believe in the freedom to love, freedom to go to school without fear of being gunned down. We care more about our children than the National Rifle Association. I'll take this debate head on any day of the week on freedom. And don't forget, I was doing ads a couple of years ago on this saying, how in the hell are we losing the debate on freedom? And with respect, during COVID, Donald Trump himself was out there promoting a lot of these policies, supporting this policy. I don't think that. I know that because I was working.
He was not supporting going after people and having neighbors snitch on neighbors.
No one that wasn't about. But as it relates to
the
concerns
Walz's case, it was. But all right, I'm going to leave you with this. Another,
COVID,
the Republicans are going to focus on immigration. You know this, immigration and the border.
Yes, sir.
San Diego becomes the latest hotspot in the border crisis. The percent of change increase in California. It's dropping in the Texas sectors. It's up in San Diego of illegal immigrants. The flow of illegal immigrants, how many have come over under this administration, Biden-Harris. It is a major, major issue for a lot of America.
Well, it's a major issue for me as we had a chance to do something substantive by adding 1,500 new border agents, 4,300 new asylum officers, 100 new judges, $650 million for the border wall, and Donald Trump killed it because he wanted it as a campaign issue. He wanted to demagogue it. I don't disagree with you. I'm the border state governor with the largest land port in the Western Hemisphere. I was just down there again last week in cartel tunnels, not just above.
It's off subject, but I'm kind of jealous of his teeth. He got some nice teeth, man. Man, I still got some work to do. It's getting there though.
Around the walls. I put 394 National Guard men and women on the border to address the issue of fentanyl.
Why is it not working?
It has been working.
It's
California,
clearly not.
You guys haven't been running screaming headlines most of the last 4 years. California has done our best to put a lid on this, but it's a federal responsibility, a federal framework. And since the executive order, border crossings are down below where they were during the Trump administration. I hope someone here would give a little grace to the accomplishments of the Biden administration and the EO.
We've done that. We've talked about the lowering numbers, but if you look at where they were 3 years ago, it's still up significantly.
Yeah, and under Trump, it was higher than under the Obama administration.
And we appreciate you coming on and taking tough questions. Is there any little part of you that wants to be on that stage tonight accepting this nomination?
No, there's
just a little bit.
No.
Just a little bit.
No, I don't need the stress in my life. I like my kids. I like spending time with them. I was able to bring them to school, first day of school on Monday. That's the joy that I'm experiencing, not just the joy that's expressed in the convention. I'll be in the front row. You'll see me applauding. A friend of almost 30 years. We knew each other before we were both in politics. It's a point of deep pride, and what an honor it is to be here as governor, representing a great state despite all our challenges. And it's an honor to be here with you as the music.
They started the orchestra, Governor.
Settles in.
That's like the Oscar.
Well, this beginning topic spiraled into something else. I thought they was going to speak about that, but informative either way. But if you stuck around for the whole video, thank you. I appreciate it. And y'all have a wonderful Monday evening down on News TV. I am Dre.